what am I up for? What do I want to get excited about? What's still there to be got hold of and enjoyed? So that kind of energy isn't a very apologetic space, is it? You're not really worried about what anyone thinks. I've got friends, got plenty of money, and they're retiring, talking about children and grandchildren and houses and what's wrong with their bodies. That's their conversation. I couldn't be less interested.
Hello, it's Zoe, and welcome back to the Mischief Movement podcast, your weekly inspo for people looking for more hell yeah in their life. Consider this your one-way ticket out of midlife mediocrity towards fun and positive impact via playful disruption. Wouldn't you love to wake up and feel like a total badass? How about breaking some rules, throwing 2 fingers up to society and doing more of the things you love? I'm talking full-on freedom, adventure, and those meaningful connections I know you've been craving. Stop waiting for your amazing life to happen and go get it. I'll be picking the brains of some true game changers and mischief makers so I can share what I find and hopefully inspire you to shake things up, do more of what makes you feel alive, and boldly rebel against the ordinary. I've no idea what I'm doing, to be honest, but I've got a mission and I'm here to start a movement. It's going to be quite the adventure. Care to join me? Okay, here goes. What if you're approaching 40 and you feel like it's too late to change your life? Or what about that book you've always wanted to write but are too scared to put yourself out there? Or how about the creative passion you were told to leave as a hobby but you wish could become your career? This week's guest, Michelle, has a thing or two to say about all of these. So if you've ever wondered what it's like to self-publish, what life can look like after 40, or how it feels to pioneer your own new design career, listen up. Get ready to discover how the spaces we live in can affect how we show up, how a little self-confidence can take you further than you think, and how aging is not the end, but actually the beginning of redesigning your life. Right, so my guest this week is Michelle Armitage, and she's an interior psychologist. Oh no, I shouldn't have said that. I should have let you introduce yourself, really.
It's fine. I'm still getting used to it.
Well, perhaps what I'll ask you then is what your mischief is, and then you can tell me exactly what it is.
So I basically like to challenge people. I like to poke at them. Are you happy? Are you happy? Which is very much what you do. That's my mischief. And I do, the people I care about, I can be quite interfering, because if I know that something's not right, either with work or their health or their relationships or where they're at in life, then I will go and prod them. So my friends who are close to me, they kind of know they're at risk of being prodded. And I also like to have friends who do that back to me. That's quite mischievous, isn't it? Because it's like a little naughty elf. Are you happy? Are you happy? Are you sure you're happy? Are you sure you want to do that? But I'll stick around for that tough stuff as well. And I guess the other mischievousness is that I've never really done things you're supposed to do. Never been interested in being married. Not really interested in chasing money. Not interested in status or qualification. I'm just not interested in a lot of things people are interested in.
Are you happy?
Am I happy? Yeah. I'm a work in progress. I would give myself like a 7 out of 10. Something niggling at me at the moment, actually. But I think it's because when I was writing the book, I was really happy. But you come out of it, and now I've got the hard job of promoting it, and then other things. So I'm in a bit of a change point at the moment.
Well, I don't want to probe too much in that case, but tell me more about the book.
My mission is to get people more interested in the idea of psychology in the home, in terms of interiors, because I think interiors and architecture is very much an artistic field. And so when people bring interior designers into their lives, they give over something to them. And there are lots of different types of interior designers. I'm not having a go at the profession, but essentially people do well when they really suit their environment. And so when I'm working with people, I work with them to understand what they really need, and that's linked to their individual psychology. So my mission is to get that more mainstream, get that idea more mainstream, get people more interested in more than just what colours do you like and where do you go on your holidays. When you're designing for someone, you actually say, well, what kind of environments make you comfortable, and do you want, what kind of cook are you, and how does your family work together, and what happens when you say introvert, extroverts, how do you use the home, where's the quiet space when someone needs to go and decompress or concentrate, that kind of just a bit deeper conversation.
I've never heard the term an interior psychologist before. So where's that come from?
It is actually slightly dangerous because I've got a psychology degree, and to be called a psychologist in America and in Australia, I'm not sure about every country in the world, you can't just use a term. But in the UK, where I mainly practice, you can use it in this term. It's only protected if it's prefaced with educational psychologist or criminal psychologist, and that's regulated by the British Psychological Society. So I am taking a bit of a risk. I am being a bit rebellious by using it, but I'm dealing with interiors. I'm not a heart surgeon, it's not a big deal really, and I do know a lot about psychology. So
would it be fair to say that you're literally carving out your own niche?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's very rebellious. It's very mischievous.
So what's been the journey up until this point then? Have you always been a bit of a rebel?
No, I had a quiet childhood and young parents who didn't really know how to. I grew up in the 70s, so it wasn't really a time when I'm remembering there was a lot of freedom in the 70s in one way, but not in others. So children could play freely, but when you were around grown-ups and things, you had to behave. It was pretty strict.
Yeah.
So I remember feeling quite squashed in a lot of ways. So maybe it's been a gradual rebellion from teenage onwards. And I'm certainly aware that I've got louder and louder and bouncier and bouncier. And I would say a lot of people can cope with me in small doses. I actually can't answer that question. So I think other people, like friends, will go, yes, Michelle, you've always been definitely doing your own thing. But I guess when it's you, it's just you doing you, isn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you said that you get louder and louder, like I assume that as you've got older, you've just got more and more confident. Would that be fair?
Yeah, obviously, like most people's lives, there are ups and downs with that.
Yeah.
But I certainly, it's a classic thing. You become less apologetic. If someone criticizes me now, my response is usually, I'm really not bothered.
Where does that come from? Do you think that's an age thing? Because I've got a bit more like that too. The word is exactly what you said, less apologetic,
Yeah. I think, well, for me, when I was getting towards my late 40s, I started to see the end of this life and started to look at what I'd done. And I've done lots of fun things in my life, but I started to think, right, okay, I'm in like the last third, or maybe a bit longer, but what am I up for? What do I want to get excited about? What's still there to be got hold of and enjoyed? So that kind of energy isn't a very apologetic space, is it? You're not really worried about what anyone thinks. I've got friends, got plenty of money, and they're retiring, talking about children and grandchildren and houses and what's wrong with their bodies. That's their conversation. I couldn't be less interested. I kind of chime with people a lot younger than me often, or other women who, and a few male friends who are on a more of an interesting journey of what's still there to get excited about and explored. Yeah, so maybe that's it. I find you surround yourself with different people at different phases of your life anyway. So yeah, I don't know about the apologetic thing. And I'm not sure if I ever was particularly apologetic, but I'm less so now. So yeah.
And so what are some of the fun things that you do want to lean into at this phase of your life?
I think actually, because I've just written a book, so I've been very in that space. So I'm still looking at that. I can work too hard or get into that. And in terms of exploration, there's certainly a lot of travel I want to do. But I think a lot of it is like internal things that there are things to still learn. I'd just been to Budleigh Salterton Literature Festival. So listening to lots of different voices, some novelists, some non-fiction, lots of ideas. So that's exciting for me, still on that learning journey.
Mm-hmm.
I think I wrote about this. So in the summer, I went off to France I've got a little mini camper, and that was really fun. So it's not like it's just a Berlingo,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I love my Berlingo. It's just fabulous. It's got big windows, you can see everything. And driving around the countryside in France was so. I didn't go on the motorways much. I just went on all the A roads, miles and miles of sunflower fields. It just felt very free.
Oh,
And
wow. It sounds amazing.
so that's really fabulous. And so next summer, I would like to be able to extend that trip and go a bit further with that. So it was a bit of a test to see if I were freaked out, really, camping on your own in a place you don't know when you're not that good at the language. Do you keep it all open? And then when I got there, it was fine. I travelled 1,500 miles on my own, and in an old car that the RAC wouldn't give me a policy to insure. But when I looked at it, you don't need the AA or RAC in France anyway. It's different. So I just learned je suis en panne, which means I have broken down. And then hoped I didn't have to use it. And I didn't. It was fine. My little car, he hit 100,000 miles on that trip.
Amazing.
Yeah. So things like that, I guess. Those are those kind of adventures, which for somebody else, they might have done it when they were a lot younger. For me, I didn't go travelling until I was 28. So in a lot of things, I feel like I'm a bit of a late developer.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound like it stopped you in any way. Can you tell me some more about your book, though?
Yeah. Shall I show you it?
Yes.
I have a copy right here.
People won't be able to see it, but I'll tell you, it says your design personality at home.
So because my first career was in human resources, and I've also got qualifications in coaching and counselling. So there are various different things I've kind of uncovered in my curiosity about human beings my whole life. So when I started to learn about interiors, I thought, oh, is there a link? So I was asking myself questions. Is there a link between psychometric personality tests and taste in interiors? So I kind of went off on little searches, and actually there are quite a lot of links. So
really
what I've done is I've looked at the research, the environmental psychologists research and colour psychologists, and pulled out various things, but made what is hopefully an easy to read, fun read for the everyday person who doesn't want to wade through kind of, PhDs and things. And so it's a step-by-step guide. So you start by a self-discovery, and then that links to taste. So for example, behind me, there's lots of, I like art, and there's lots of different landscapes. So somebody who's got something called high openness to experience is someone who likes a lot of variety. They want to explore different cultures. If they go to a restaurant, they'll order different meals. They like to change things up. For somebody in that kind of personality, you'll see it in their homes. You might see it in books or art or collections or objects. Even just a throw that's certain fabric design, it will reveal a bit about that aspect of their nature. And in the book, there are probably, I think it's 30 actually various different things that I explore to get the answer for somebody,
So would I be right in saying that it helps somebody who maybe doesn't have much of an idea about how to style up their house to understand what their tastes are?
Yeah, I've aimed it at someone with no confidence. And I think the kind of text behind it. So a lot of people say, be like me, so a lot of designers will put out a book, certainly celebrity designers put out a book, be more like me. And if you're already clear about what kind of interiors you like, you might find a very confident celebrity, a good person to follow because it's inspirational, it gives you ideas. But if you've got no confidence at all, I think a lot of people feel very insecure and self-critical, really, about they have a desire to have a more interesting home or do something in their home, but they don't have the confidence. So the idea of this is to give them confidence to do their own thing and to be their own person.
Yeah.
So I guess the mission there is validating individual taste, whatever that is, because it's their home.
Oh, do you know what? I find it really hard. I sometimes feel like I've got lots of different tastes, and I find it really difficult to bring them all together and for my home to look harmonious and not like a junk shop, you know, just not like a collection of things. I find that the hardest part of all. I know what I like, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in harmony with the other things I like. I have to be really careful there.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a common thing, because you might like, and we're talking styles, you might like art deco, but you also might like floral country. Well, they don't go together at all. One's geometric and one is and tends to be more neutral palette, and one is very colourful and floral. So how do you, and you can put them together, but that is actually quite a challenge. There's something though that some people talk about, red threads through a house, like a house should look the same throughout it. And I think that's absolute hogwash. I'm not going to swear. Really, I just think it's absolutely rubbish. Because what if if the kind of person you have different moods or different activities, and you want to feel different in different bits of your house? Also, if you're a family, you've got children, what are you going to say? Your children have got to decorate the same way you're going to decorate? It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, we've got different. You know, a lot of houses, you've got lots of little rooms, so make them all different.
Yeah.
And then you could actually have different themes for different rooms for different aspects of yourself.
Have you got that in your own home?
I do have it here, yeah. So my lounge is quite colourful, shades of pink, lots of pattern and lots of texture. So like behind, I've got a big 300-year-old stone fireplace. It's fabulous, old cottage.
Wow.
Upstairs is very pale, and my bedroom is white, and I try and keep it as empty as possible.
That's quite a contrast then.
Yeah, so I think because I have such a chaotic mind, when I go to sleep, I want to really have a calm room.
Yeah. Yeah, you really are thinking about the purpose of the room and how you want to feel in each one. Yeah.
So yeah, I really like it if I go into a bedroom, and it's just wood and white and maybe plants, and that's it. That is a lovely serene space. Whereas social spaces where you've got people around, and so yeah, the downstairs of my house is very different. Yeah. The home is a metaphor for the self, and I think we all do live in a way where our homes are. If we're a bit chaotic in ourselves, our houses get a bit messy, and so it's hard to relax in a chaotic space.
Yeah, I'm always saying that in my house. I mean, it's hard. I've got 2 young children, but I can't deal with the clutter. I need it to be a calm space when I'm in my home. And I do think, as you say, a lot of the way we style our houses and the way we live in them, it can also then affect our mindset for other things. I know for a fact that if my home is in a state and I come home to that, I'm not in a good headspace.
Yeah. Or if you go on holiday, you always make sure you tidy up.
Yes, definitely.
So you come back to you don't come back to jobs that you've forgotten about.
Yeah. Oh my God, but it's the best feeling. When you've been away and you come home and you walk in and it's tidy and it's clean and everything's in place and there's been no Lego anywhere, and like it's just, and you kind of go, isn't it nice to come home to that,
I like that, no Lego. Yeah, the parents' foot torture.
Yeah, I don't think you suffer for that problem, but for any of the parents out there, I feel your pain, literally.
So the other thing is, of course, what is decluttered? So for me, what is tidy and a good environment might be still too cluttered for you, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think there is there's objects and having stuff in your home, and then there's having a messy home. And for every individual person, that looks different. So you get that a lot in couples. I mean, I do think interior designers sometimes couple therapists, because when you're trying to help a couple design, you're kind of working in that marriage. If you've got a family, more complicated. So the whole thing around people not seeing dirt, not seeing mess, and how things work. That there's a lot in that, and it is the individual. It's not one person's lazy and the other one's a martyr. It is genuinely they were lived on their own. They would live differently.
Yeah. So I'm keen to hear about how this career came about, because you've already told me it's something, unusual, rebellious, that you've carved out your own niche. Where did that come from?
So I always loved interiors. So when I was younger, I used to watch Changing Rooms, the first series. I don't know if you remember that. And Anna
Yep.
Ryder Richardson was always my favourite designer.
Yes.
And she's still around now, I know. And I've been a HR director in a property company for Andrews, and I really enjoyed that. So I think it's sometimes a journey in life. You're picking up different bits and then pulling them together. So I've got my psychology degree, always been interested in what makes people tick. Then and then I'm an artist, an amateur artist, and I love getting out and about in nature. So I draw and paint a lot to do with nature. So you pull all that together in terms of interiors. Then I thought, well, when I was really burned out from a particular job, which I now know, looking back on it, was the beginning of the menopause, combining with a health condition I've got, which is sleep apnea, which I wasn't managing. So I really got so you got stressful job, health condition, and then a change of life. So those things brought me to my knees, really. So I didn't have a lot of choice. I had to make a significant change. I thought, well, I really feel like I've done enough. So 30 years in this career, I want to do something else. And didn't know what it was. Yeah. I actually started working in an Annie Sloan paint shop. So I just went in and talked to Sarah, the owner. I think she'd had the shop open about 3 months, and persuaded her that she should give me a job.
Amazing.
So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed helping people choose paint colours. I really enjoyed chatting, and it wasn't terribly serious. So if you think about human resources as a job, and then being an interiors shopkeeper as a job, it was just delightful. The pay wasn't brilliant, but the role and the life was delightful. So I started learning. I went on started a diploma in interior design, an online diploma, and my mind just kind of went like that, of like, wow, there are careers that are fun and beautiful and creative and happiness. You're just happy in it. I mean, it really was an amazing time. I remember meeting the guy in London, in Paddington, and I must have been so happy, so shiny from this day I'd spent at KLC in Chelsea Harbour, that he just wanted to be with me. He wasn't really trying to pick me up in like a romantic way. He just wanted to be with me. And he said, oh, my train's coming, but I'd rather stay here and talk to you. It was really odd because I was just so changed. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that was the beginning of it. And partway through the diploma, I started doing design for people that I knew. And then I started to develop ideas about the psychology stuff. So I was still studying. And then that led to me doing talks. And then a friend of mine said, well, you're going to write a book on this, Michelle. So
how do you even go about writing and publishing a book? I wouldn't even know where to begin. There's so much more than just having the idea and writing the book. It's all the other stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I had a book designer help me bring the actual design to view. I mean, it's full colour. There's lots of images in it. So it's like a magazine in terms of its layout. So I don't have the IT skills to do that, the design skills. So that bit. But the bit about not being able to cope with criticism, I deliberately did lots of mindset work, because I knew that I was going to come out and say, here's something about design psychology. And I've got no academic background. At some point, someone was going to say, who are you to write that book? At some point, it'll happen. So I'm kind of waiting for it, and I'm ready for it. So there's that aspect, as well as the actual writing, editing, rewriting, asking for more feedback, leaving it, coming back, going, oh, that's rubbish, chop, 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 that kind of ruthlessness. It took 3 years. Yeah.
3 years?
3 years, yeah, from start to finish. Yeah. It's about 65,000 words and 300 images. And yeah, so it's, and to simplify things so that they're easy to read, that's how, it would have been easier if it was longer. Like the colour chapter's about 4,000 words. At one point, it was 20,000 words.
Yeah.
So it's like, some subjects are so complicated.
Where do you find a book designer? Do you literally just Google book designer and see who pops up?
No, actually, if any of your listeners are interested in writing, there is an organisation called the Alliance of Independent Authors, and they have a Facebook group, and they have lots of resources and guides on how to be self-published. So that's really helpful. I mean, not everyone's going to write a book like mine. I've got friends who've written memoirs and novels and they are more straightforward to publish, self-publish. And then there's a concept called going wide, so going beyond Amazon and Kindle direct publishing. So there's a whole set of thinking in that, and the self-publishing industry in the last 10 years has really disrupted the publishing industry. So now the idea, that in between, there are no gatekeepers anymore. That once upon a time there were people who said you do or don't get to have a book,
like music and stuff.
Yeah. So now, and so the publishing industry has changed because of the self-publishing world. And like everything else in social media land, it's all about the discoverability of what it is that you're doing and hoping find different ways to find your audience. So there's plenty of resource out there to help.
There you go, being disruptive again, you see. Oh, that's quite cool.
Just need to be beware of a few sharks. Like in every field, there are some sharks that will come and offer you what seems like a good solution for a fee, and you just need to be a bit just aware of who's offering what and get different quotes. Does that make sense? I could someone could come along and say, if you pay me £5,000, I'll edit your book, I'll print your book, and I'll help distribute your book. And you really need to check out the credentials of people offering that kind of thing, because they might not be very credible, and you probably do it better yourself.
How are you meant to navigate them then?
Well, if you join something like the Alliance of Independent Authors, and you start asking around other people who have interacted with the publishing industry, and you say, I'm looking for an editor. I mean, editing, there are organisations for editing and proofreaders where people actually register, just like Check a Trader kind of thing. It's the same thing. You've got people who will recommend, and the Ally will recommend certain people. And I found my book designer, Berenice Howard Smith, and she was great. And I've never actually met her, just like chatting to you now. She lives in Cambridge, so we chatted online, and she was great because I had a bit of an artistic idea of how I wanted the book to be. So it was an interaction, a creative interaction between us, and she had the patience to help me with that and care, understand. And then she had lots of ideas, and a lot of them are like, oh, that was brilliant. So it felt like a proper creative collaboration.
And when did the book actually come out?
Came out at the end of April this year.
Oh, so it's like fresh.
Yeah. And I'm just starting to draft up an online course to support it, because what I'm realizing is people want to continue to talk in order to understand their style. Just reading a book is not enough. So I want to create like an online community, and I think that'll build in time. I don't think I'll do that overnight.
This episode is kindly sponsored by Polite Club, a brand whose mission is to change the attitude towards vulnerability by encouraging more conversation around it in order to increase real human connection. When you can express your feelings constructively, you can work through your fears, open your heart, and find your place in the world. The vehicle for these conversations is clothing, or connection clothing as it's become known. Connection is one of my core values, so I'm thrilled to be able to partner with Polite Club so we can join in our collective goal of bringing people together and helping you rebel against staying the same. Sustainable, organic, and rebellious, of course, Polite Club also uses 50% of their profits to fund proactive suicide prevention in the form of coaching, support, and awareness raising, which enables people to understand their emotions and express how they feel constructively. Become a vulnerable with us. For more info on the brand or to buy online, go to politeclub.co.uk or follow on Instagram at politeclubhq. Now, back to the show.
I actually took a HR job for a while to pay the bills so that I could focus on researching and writing the book.
That's really interesting. That's very, that's such a practical thing to do, to go take not a step back, but to go back into something that you'd done before, so that you were able to then advance a new career in a different direction.
Yeah, I guess it was just easy. So I just knew that I could, I've skipped out a few steps. So I had some really lucky breaks where people have said, hey, why don't you come and design this space? And if you were 21 going into a new career, you wouldn't get the opportunity to design an office for 120 people. But because I had other skills that I could bring to the party,
I love that. I love that so much. What, I sit here and I wonder why society tends to write off people after they're 40 when we're the ones with all the experience. You're never, like you said, you're never going to give a job of that size to somebody who's just fresh out of uni. So here you are saying, look at me, how old are you? You don't have to answer
I don't mind
precisely.
that. I'm 55.
55.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I feel about 35.
Awesome,
actually, do you know, last week I went to see Trinny Woodall.
Yeah.
Because she's got a new book out called Fearless, which is just amazing. She's amazing. So she's 59. But I think women, after the menopause, there's a vitality that comes and a confidence. Society, some people in society will be ageist and write off older people, but not everybody.
No.
And I like I said before, someone can criticize me, they're welcome to. I'd have to listen to it.
Absolutely.
How old are you?
I'm 41. I'm just about to turn 42.
Yeah, so that, I think I remember being 40, and 40 is a real watershed, isn't it? Again, it's like there are these points you go, actually, this is an interesting. When you're younger and you look forward, there are plenty of people making you dread it. Like someone said to me, a younger colleague, I'm dreading the menopause. And I said, well, don't dread it. Get your facts, get some support. And then afterwards, it's fucking amazing.
Good. I'm glad you said that. It means I've got something to look forward to out the other side.
I think so. And Davina McCullough's come out, and actually Trini as well. Really, there's so many more resources. I remember going to the doctor saying, I think my hormones are changing.
Yeah.
And they just did a test and said, yeah, not quite right, not quite there yet. And it's like, and this is like when everything was changing, my hot flushes are nothing. Capacity to remember things, all your joints starting to ache because estrogen is an anti-inflammatory. So when it starts to reduce, everything starts to hurt. Dry eyes. It's like a million symptoms. The worst ones are the emotional ones. And the doctors would be nice to at least have been maybe given a leaflet of where to go or what to research or what's around. And now there's so much more awareness. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah, 41. You young thing.
Oh, thanks.
Why did you go to Italy? I mean, that seems like such a big move to move countries.
So I came here when I was about, I think, 28, something like that. And I just had a dream that I wanted to move abroad, which came from largely, I think, the fact that I was just so scared of doing everything.
Yeah.
And I was the classic friend in the group who everybody would always say, Zoe just needs a bit more confidence. And I was sick of it. And I decided I didn't want to be that person anymore that wasn't confident, or that everybody else thought wasn't confident. I've come to learn that actually, I've learned two things about confidence, really. I think the first thing, and I've said this before, is you don't need to be the loudest person in the room. And I understand that a lot more.
Confidence.
I understand that a lot more now. But I used to sort of berate myself for being, a bit quieter and a bit more analytical of people, and not the first to put their hand up, not the first to project their voice and their opinion, the one who was listening and taking it in. And I think the second thing I've learned is that confidence can be learned anyway.
Yeah.
So I've kind of got there by doing lots of things that scared me. It comes back to doing things that put you out your comfort zone at the end of the day. And that was big on my list. I just felt like if I could move countries and start a life somewhere else, like what could be more scary than doing that? And I felt like if I could do that, I could pretty much do anything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, going around France, a lot of people will go, but Michelle, you've been around the world, you've lived in Australia, you've done so many things. And for some reason, the French, as much as I love France, have always terrified me. And I think it went back to some earlier school holiday experiences of not being able to pronounce words properly. And so it was an obstacle in my mind to overcome. Yeah. So I feel immensely proud of myself for doing that. So sometimes the confidence builders aren't always big things. Sometimes they're little things, aren't they? But,
yeah, do you know what? I heard something recently which made quite an impression on me, which was you only need the confidence to start. That's all you need.
yeah.
Because the rest of the confidence will build as you do the thing. That's all you need. Just enough courage and enough confidence to say, I'm just going to do this thing that's scaring me. And then after that, it will just build on its own.
Do you know the Liz Gilbert story of how she deals with fear? She wrote a book called Big Magic. Have you heard of Big Magic?
I have read Big Magic a few years back, yeah.
So there's this, I must have listened to it a million times on Audible, but there's a bit where she kind of goes, dear fear, creativity and I are going on a journey.
Oh,
and then she talks about what they're doing and that fear's coming anyway. And he's allowed to come. He's not allowed to make decisions.
That's it. It's like fear's the passenger, not the driver or something.
Yeah. And like, dude, you're not even allowed to play with the radio. That's like kind of a flippant thing. Yeah. And I just think I love that idea that fear never actually totally leaves you. You just kind of manage it better.
Yes.
And the more exciting the thing that you're doing, the more the fear it's proportionate. It'll be frightening as well as exciting, and maybe those two emotions are actually the same thing.
Yes,
fear and excitement.
They're certainly very similar, aren't they?
So I think if you're a little bit frightened about stuff, then you're kind of in the right arena. I think when I was younger, I threw myself in at the deep end, maybe a bit too much, and now I'm a bit more kind to myself. But I went to uni the other end of the country. I grew up in North Lancashire, went all the way to Plymouth. I did that because I knew I'd be homesick. I'm sensitive, and I didn't want to be able to go home at the weekend. So I went a long way away. Yeah. But what was my 18-year-old self thinking? I cried for a week. It was dreadful, but I settled in. And so for you think, what was that? Where was that strength of character? Like, I know I'll be rubbish at this, so I'm going to make myself do it.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally the story of my life. That is what I do. And that's how the podcast came about too. Well, this is going to be hard and scary. Oh, I think I'll just do it then. So what's getting you excited about the future then? What's it looking like to you?
You will certainly probably know this person. Having a portfolio life, a life full of projects and new ideas. So someone said to me about my book, oh, you found your thing. It's so great you found your thing. And I thought, I didn't say anything actually, but I think, no, I haven't found my thing. This is my thing at the moment, and it's great, and I love it, and I'm still excited about it, and so I'm going to monetize it, and I'm going to share it, and it's going to be great. But in 10 years' time, I don't know what I'll be doing. I really don't. I will carry on following my curiosity, having fun, engaging with people. I have no idea what's coming next. So, I think that bit, I'm really good at being in the here and now, and I'm not great at like planning ahead, apart from thinking, spend time with family, spend time with good friends, make sure you look after your friends, not neglect them because you're in your head all the time, go out and about and enjoy the countryside. I'm really into the environment. So if I hit riches, I will spend that I will buy up land and rewild it. That's, so I certainly won't buy myself a Jaguar. I'll probably buy a few fields and plant trees on them. So it's that kind of thing. But I genuinely don't know. I have no real firm plans.
I love that though. At the end of the day, you've got to just kind of lean into the things that you love, and then, like you say, see what happens.
Yeah. So I feel lucky. I love psychology. I love art, and I love nature. So interiors is like a natural place for me to be. And I love hanging out with other interior designers. So that feels, I cried actually the day I was talking to somebody, and actually it hit an emotional nerve for me. I feel like I'm hanging out with the cool girls at school. I'm actually going to cry again. Just the feeling of that, like I'm hanging out with people I want to hang out with. I'm having the conversations that I want to have. I could literally talk about fabric design and wallpaper design forever, I think, and never get bored, because pattern surface design is such a complex, clever thing, and different colorways, and why that one works and why that one doesn't work, all that kind of stuff. It's great. Designers are great. So that's a space I can't see myself getting bored of.
I can see why that guy felt like you were so magnetic. coming out of your interior design course, because you do just light up when you talk about it. Where can people contact you on the internet or find out more about buying your book?
Oh, okay. So my business is called Light and Frank Interiors. So I've got a website, which is lightandfrank.com. And I've also got an Instagram. And so that's probably where I'm most active, actually, on Instagram. And then my book you can buy on Amazon. So if you look up my name, Michelle Armitage, or the title, Your Design Personality at Home, then you'll find me there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved this little interior design chat, Michelle.
Thank you, Zoe. It's really nice to meet you.
So before I go, here are my 10 takeaways from this interview with Michelle. So number 1, people do well when they really suit their environment. Number 2, aging doesn't mean the end. It can just be a fantastic excuse to reflect and then approach the next stage, embracing who you are and being totally unapologetic about it. Number 3, you surround yourself with different people at different stages of your life, and that's normal. Number 4, you can design the rooms of your house around different themes and how you want to feel in that space. So think about the purpose of each room as you design it. Number 5, the home can be a metaphor for the self. So if we're a bit chaotic in ourselves, our houses tend to get a bit messy. But remember, it's hard to relax in a chaotic space. Number 6, don't dread turning 40 or the menopause, because there's a vitality and confidence that both come as a result. Number 7, sometimes the confidence builders aren't the big things, they're the little ones, the little obstacles in your mind that you need to overcome. Number 8, fear never actually leaves you, you just learn to manage it better. So the more exciting the thing is, the more fear there will probably be. But if you're a little bit frightened, you're probably in the right arena. Number 8, finding something you love doesn't mean it's your thing, or rather your one and only thing. You are allowed to keep leaning into more things that you love and following your curiosity, whatever age or stage of life you're at. And number 10, don't be afraid to take a less than ideal job to get you closer to your main goal. Michelle worked in a paint shop to bring her closer to interior design and took a job back in her old career of HR when she needed to focus on writing her book. I hope you loved today's episode and it made you think differently, or perhaps nudged you into changing something in your life that's not working for you. I'd love to give you a shout out right here on the podcast too. So let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear more of, or how you've been inspired by what you've heard. Let's keep in touch over on Instagram at Mischief and Hyde, or sign up to my newsletter at zoegreenhalgh.com. If you're enjoying being part of the Mischief movement, please consider telling a friend or leaving me a review wherever you download your episodes, which will seriously help my mission to inspire and empower more people like us to choose mischief over mediocre. Ciao!